They do have. They are ecstatic about it. We just have a session apart.
Okay, we have just come out of closed session, so we will now get back to our regular agenda. The next agenda item is agenda item 8, resolution with the city of Moab for the Atlas Park. I guess I'm presenting this. I didn't realize that. So this is we have a working group with the city of Moab that Mary and Quinn and myself have been, and as well as our planning and zoning folks have been attending. And this is a resolution that we've been working on for further discussions with the city of Moab as a partner in working on procuring the UMTRA site and the plans for potentially after the UMTRA site is procured. I think this stems from our Congressman Curtis has asked for a resolution between the city and the county to kind of fast track or to help out with potential legislation. I think this has been kind of a long time coming, and I would be supportive of the resolution as presented. Mary, do you want to add anything else? You're also on.
Yeah, it's and the city is vested enough in this that they've set money aside to hire someone to kind of be
the facilitator
because you need somebody,
right?
Because everybody else is too scattered. So I make a motion that we accept the resolution with the city of Moab for the Atlas Park.
Thanks, Mary.
I'll second that. I got you, Mike.
Well, I have a question. Sorry.
Okay, so I have a motion on the table from Mary and a second from Trish. Mike,
does this resolution doesn't list out like 10% of the fees or go to the city and 90% go to the county? I mean, this is just a resolution to continue working all together.
To continue working together.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. There's not a financial aspect.
I have a couple of questions on it.
Bill?
The first one is, it's my guess, and maybe this is a statement rather than a question, that if the feds pass this down, it's going to need to go to the county body. And it appears that this MOU puts the city in charge of keeping this moving forward. So I'm a little bit confused why we would be giving that up to the city to where they're in charge of this. And then the second part of my comments is I believe that currently the DOE is paying 50% of Mrs. Thacker's wages. So are we giving that up?
Mary, go ahead.
DOE has nothing to do with this. In fact, they don't want to have anything to do with this. The DOE is only charged with cleaning the place up. They don't have it. Then it is passed over to Legacy Management, and then they continue after it's cleaned up.
Right.
So that's why it's called the Atlas Park, because at first we called it something with words UMTRA in it, and the DOE said no,
Right.
You can't do that. And then two reasons why it makes sense right now for the city to be in charge is, one, it's a budget item, so they're going to pay for the facilitator. We're not going to pay anything for the facilitator. And second is they have a Parks and Recreation department.
I guess that's not a good enough reason for me to hand over our rights to the city, and I would again be concerned about.
What rights are we handing over?
I would be concerned about the fact that if this needs to pass from the feds, it's going to pass to the county, would be my guess eventually. And so I don't want to give up anything that would interfere with that. And to some degree, this MOU seems like that would interfere with future plans of taking that over.
We had the resolution that said it would be taken over by the city and the county already, that we passed
to get together.
Passed last.
What rights are you talking about, Bill?
Well, I don't care what we say, that we have an agreement with the city that the city and the county are going to share this. This is going to be up to the feds. And I guess if John Curtis's staff, who I think is going to run this for us, is fine with this, then I'm fine with it. I would be concerned looking at this that we're giving away something where they're impeding our rights to this
I mean, Bill, I support, I mean, definitely agree with you that, you know, we should be looking at it that way. And I would also have assumed, yeah, this is, what's the city got to do with this? I mean, you know, the city boundaries aren't really near there now. But I think a couple of years ago on a tour with Curtis and his staff, I was kind of surprised that they seemed to assume that it would be some kind of joint city county thing. And I don't know how it got in their minds that the city should, you know, but
I'm fine with it being a joint city county thing. I'm just not fine if we're giving something up here or something that could be this in the future. That's the only point I was trying to.
Yeah, go ahead, Quinn. Yeah, please. Wait, you've been
No,
going to the meeting,
I
so
do-
please wait.
I do think though that that's a discussion for the commission to have, is that if it does end up in joint ownership between the city and the county, then obviously it's joint ownership. We've given up some portion of ownership. I think your point is correct. Does it matter? And I don't know.
I don't think, I just want to raise the point that it might impede future transfers from the feds to the county. That's the only reason I thought. I don't have a position.
Do you see anything there, Stephen, that would give you pause as to that particular aspect?
I think ultimately we're looking at trying to, and I'm trying to open the contract, trying to get some agreement between the county and the city. I think it'll be much easier if the county and the city are working together. I think that's what the contract lays out, that it's going to have a point person, that the city's going to manage this point person going forward. I think, you know, again, nothing against the county commission, but at times having a mayor and having a point person and having kind of that structure might be easier at times. And that's, you know, I selfishly, I would rather, you know, the county have it and have control, but I think that has a little bit more, perhaps predictability in the sense that you're dealing with a smaller executive function as opposed to 7. I don't know that they look at this agreement and say that the county's given up what it wants. It does present some concern because if we didn't want to, you know, share I think overall, I think it would be a good thing for the city and the county to have something positive that they're working on together. I think we haven't done the giant ledger accounting that the reckoning that was coming, that I think that we were getting out books. I think Mallory was getting all the books out to try to balance the scales. We didn't do that. I do think that would be something that we probably need to have that discussion. But this is a seemingly good positive that we're getting along with, and so I would take this as that.
We've also been working them with the city from the beginning on this, and I think it says in there that with a 30-day notice, we could dissolve this. Right. Yeah.
Never mind, I'll be quiet.
All right. Any other concerns? All right, there's a motion on the table to approve. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hands. And that passes unanimously. Okay, I'm going to move agenda item 10 down till after our closed session. So we will get to the consent agenda. The consent agenda tonight consists of there are no minutes to approve, so we don't have that. The county bills, total bills in the amount of $1,182,252 $31. Total payroll in the amount of $384,527.88 for total bills and payroll in the amount of $1,566,780.19. And then item C, fiscal year 25 annual cooperative agreement with Utah Department of Natural Resources. That's FFSL, and Grant County, which is the county weeds department.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right, thanks, Trish. And Evan seconds. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, raise your hands, and that passes unanimously with Commissioner Winfield absent. All right, we are on to discussion item. This is the withholding of state allocated funds and property taxes, and it was actually Commissioner Winfield who brought this discussion item up. So we can wait. I'll just go into a little bit of background. I think he put in the he wanted the letter that was sent to myself as well as Gabe and John Hatterley from the auditor on July 19th in there, and then what was the other bit of material in there? Intention to hold. Is that it? The other item was the letter sent on September 18th from Brooke Russell from the state auditor to Chris Kaufman to hold the property tax distributions, including redemptions in the following entities should be held by the county beginning immediately until written authorization release is received. Anybody want to start the discussion until Bill gets back? Mike.
Sorry, y'all. July 19th. I mean, 60-day warning. I found out about this. I mean, when I got agenda, or through that we had a 60-day warning. Again, back to previous discussion topics. I would have been nice to know.
Yeah, and I'll get to that for sure. So the letter, hold on, I'm trying to find the original letter. No, I'm looking for what was actually, yeah, sent.
From I didn't know until last week until the audit committee, so I didn't know either, Mike.
Yeah.
At the audit committee.
This is
at the
giving me
audit committee-
deja vu.
At the audit.
It was, well, I just don't think we should have just a repetitive.
Well, no,
I think Commissioner Walker, I think we discussed it at the audit committee.
We
Right.
discussed it at the audit committee, yes.
We haven't discussed this.
No.
yes, the original letter was sent to myself, to Gabe, and to John Hatterley. It came in on July 19th. At that time, I was traveling. I actually don't, I recall opening the letter. There was a response from John in the letter. And I will say, when I got back, this is definitely my bad. I got back and saw it along with, I mean, I probably opened 150 emails when I returned from that. I think, and I'm kind of speculating because I don't remember that well. It was also 9 hours of travel, jet lagged, or 3 days of travel plus 9 hours of time difference. No excuses, but anyway, I did see the John Hatterley replied right away on Friday, July 19th. I have the email chain here, and he replied saying, Seth, update on timeline. We're waiting for component units to finish up. We've been pressuring their auditors to get finished, and Gabe has been pressuring the components from his side. So that's what I have there. So anyway, that's kind of the history of that.
The both letters too, because the other letter, that one was off State Auditor July 19th, 2024. And then the other one,
The other one that
Chris Kaufman, on a straight hold funds letter, was actually before a meeting. And I still didn't know about it.
Well, that one I think
It was on
came to
September
all of
18th
it.
of 2024. I mean, I just looked up that we had it before the meeting. And it was,
It came to the whole commission. I didn't look that one up myself.
I thought I'd seen that, before, but maybe you're right, maybe.
I didn't.
Does anyone
I
have the
didn't see
original email?
I didn't get the original.
I don't think I got the original either. I think it probably just went to Chris Kaufman.
Then again, an important topic to let everyone know that we're not receiving any tax revenue. Especially the day before the meeting is what the date looks like.
So the day before, the day after.
18th would have been the date.
Oh yeah. Wrong month. It's on the
Just went to
materials.
my calendar. It was a Wednesday and our meeting was on Thursday. Tuesday. You're right. It was the day after, 2 days after.
The day after. That's okay. Was looking at the right month.
Okay, I'll go with it. You're very right on the Tuesday, Thursday, but I mean, we've known for 2 weeks.
2 weeks, right?
And this is the very first time I've seen this was in the agenda. I didn't get an email, I didn't get. So I do, again, I don't deja vu, but feeling extremely left out. By now, Chris Kaufman too.
Yeah, Bill, go ahead.
Guess for me, where are we here? I mean, has anybody called the auditor? I mean, are we still in denial of this, or where are we with our taxes held down? Because currently, are we really not in a government shutdown here? Sure, we can keep robbing the piggy bank for payroll, but where are we? Where are we moving from here?
I think we just,
Dave's been talking with the auditor's office every day.
Well, okay, so then let's get a good update. What does the auditor say we have to do to come into compliance? Because that's really what I'm looking for. I can continue to say that I think leadership has done a bad job here of making sure that the entire commission is aware of what's going on, but really that doesn't solve the problem. That's just a given. What do we have to do to get our funds released? That's what I'm interested in.
I don't know, I mean, the letter, they talked about the percentages, 67, 63, and we can't document that until we get our financials, so that. Yeah, I think yesterday was the earliest we were able to demonstrate that because it involves turning in the financial statement, it has to wait for units. I'm not. One hears different things, sometimes secondhand about what else they might want. But I had a conversation with the auditor last week and he seemed interested in, focusing on the areas where we still disagree and understanding what we're saying, that kind of thing. So there was no conclusion to those talks, but I thought they were kind of professional.
When you say the auditor, Seth or Mr. Dougal himself? Both of them.
Like, but mostly.
yeah, Steven?
I think maybe a good starting point, we got an email from Gabe today at 11:47.
Yeah.
That I think kind of explains kind of a good starting point.
Gabe sent it to
Clerk,
us.
clerk auditor.
No, it was great. It definitely outlined things.
And I think that one lays out kind of the understandings that I'm not meaning to speak for Gabe, but it's a well put together note on an update.
And I just want to make very, very clear that I haven't negotiated any terms with the state auditor's office. And it's not my intention to. It's not. I'm collecting information. I was also on a call with Auditor Dougal, but that was because I was forwarded an email where Auditor Dougal asked for my presence specifically. I sat in on the call. I collected information to be included in any potential conversation, but this is not my role to talk about interpretational issues.
Yeah, Mike,
You go ahead.
go ahead, Evan.
I was gonna say, I mean, I have not had direct interactions with anybody in those offices, and so I want to be sensitive and respectful of like the productive conversations and putting on a good face. But in my mind, I'm also wondering, like, so it seems like a sticking point is this interpretation of how it was spent. And just from my knowledge, what would it look like? I mean, if we were to challenge those findings of this individual, because it's really an account, interpreting legislation, and so, we get, who would we get judgment from? Would that be Supreme Court? Are we suing the auditor? Like, what does that process look like if we're gonna kind of be in this stalemate? And I mean, I feel good about our decisions. And so it's like, if we need to defend those, what does that look like?
Probably either a TRO from the temporary restraining order from the district court. It's likely where we try to seek reprieve from it.
So we'd seek a temporary restraining order on the auditor.
On them seeking to freeze our funds. I mean, the hard part is if you look in statute and it's in the hold notice, it lays out his statutory authority to restrict our ability to gain access to those funds. And that's only after they provide us a 60-day notice, and then we don't come into compliance from that 60-day notice. He has the ability to freeze the funds. So one of the difficulties is we are now trying to object outside the 60-day period, failing to have previously given any sort of response within that window of 60 days. So then the court would look at us and say, if we come in and say, well, we want to challenge this, they're going to say, why didn't you do something within the 60-day period and raised an argument? And I think that's going to be a hard thing for the county to overcome
I don't
because
think our response to the initial letter was,
that wasn't, we didn't send that after the 60-day notice. We got the 60-day notice and said nothing to the state. That was kind of that
But
was
the 60-day notice
letter.
didn't refer in a clear way to the TRT audit issues.
that could be
Referred
the,
to, one subpart of it, that's it.
and that could be one part of the argument. I mean, so really the path before the commission is this. Door number one is say, we want to challenge. We're going to go through and we're going to fight you on all the issues we disagree because they're saying come into compliance. We didn't come into compliance within the 60 days. So now they can hold the funds. Whether they continue to hold the funds is going to be the question. That's where we'd want reprieve now. And then we figure out on this argument of whether it's an interpretation issue. Door number two, which I think is a much more palatable door, is we try to find common ground and see if we can pay X amount, maybe, I don't care which issues, but we may give on some and say, maybe for example, and again, the commission may not want to do this, so I'm just giving an idea. Where we're at now is we're here, they're there, we're saying we're right, they're saying they're right, and we're just stuck. And we continue to say we're right, and they continue to say we're wrong. But the one thing that Dougal's mentioned, he mentioned it in the Times Independent, is he's looking for maybe some argument on either promotional funds or mitigation funds that were spent in a way that could have been argued as, in fact, promotional. So we haven't showed him, like, for example, we've never taken articles from the trail mix and said, look, we put this on social media, this should be considered promotion. We haven't done any of that. We've really just kind of said, well, it is promotion, we argue that. And we're not making any middle ground. Now I know the idea, I know we want to stick to our guns and argue it. I think that the part where we're at now is we've got our auditor, our external auditor, whatever his title is, I apologize, but he came in. We've got him, we have Seth Overson, we have Tina Cannon, we have John Dougal. They're all saying that if we don't have some change, they're going to mess with TRT in whatever way that is. So I'm thinking we can sit and argue principle. We can look at lawsuits. We can look at challenging him in court and everything else. But I really think that we might look at some of the issues and say, you know what? Agree to disagree. Let's find a resolution. We're going to cut the check for this amount. We're going to disagree with you on this part and come to the middle on some of it. Because I think it's going to cost the county longer or more in the long run to continue to fight this out.
So Steve, I mean, based on the last conversation with you, I'm optimistic that something can be worked out. And so I mean, I disagree with some of the details of what you said, but I think the overall gist of what you're saying, that's what I'm hoping will happen.
Yeah.
Right.
And we won't know for sure until they say something definitive, but they've certainly seemed willing to listen to what we have to say. I think we've been reasonable from the start. A lot of these things we've agreed to immediately. Yes, that was a mistake. We'll refund the difference. So, we've certainly shown that we're willing to, to correct past mistakes when we believe they actually are mistakes. And I think I'm optimistic the auditor's office is willing to listen to what we have to say about some of these other issues. I think everybody's ultimately a reasonable person and will come to some kind of agreement.
They're reasonable, but right now the thing is they're holding the taxes. And I think looking at the spreadsheet that is in front of me right now, that it says after a joint analysis between the state auditor's office, they believe that there's about $1 million has been made and incorporated in the 2023 financial statements. We can do that correction. I think that's the direction where we need to go. Is we need to create a dialogue with them, because right now we can look down the road of challenge, but we probably need the commission to say, you know what, Jacques, Stephen, whoever should take point with the help of Gabe, because Gabe knows a lot about this stuff and Seth knows a lot about this stuff, and say, you two go out, try to find a resolution, start going to some meetings, and let's try to find a solution.
But
That's,
I think that's what's happening. I mean, I was in a meeting last week, but there's another one scheduled for tomorrow.
okay.
And that's what I just, you know, in these commissioner, you know, I mentioned that when we were giving our reports. And asked them, people in the commission were okay with me doing that. So I think,
Are you in that
You
meeting
asked,
also?
you asked me if you were okay with the negotiating with the auditor.
I think I was looking right between you and Trish. I said it.
Boy, that went right over my head, but I really think that this is the first I've heard that you have another meeting tomorrow. Now it's the first I've heard that you had the last one, but you know, BTL here, let's move forward with some negotiation and openness here about the meetings that are taking place.
I think
Commission updates.
those are the commission updates.
Yeah, he
I
did.
guess
He
so.
was. He
Yeah,
said it.
he
today.
did say that.
Again, PTL, let's move forward. That's the whole point here is let's get this negotiation moving forward.
Yeah, so you're meeting with him tomorrow. Gabe's been meeting with him, so, you know, work on trying to find some way that we can come together and, have a solution. I know I've looked at it and thought maybe we could, you know, give on this or not give on that, but I think of everybody that, Kevin's been the most involved, and Steve and Jacques and Gabe, having them negotiate with for us would be great.
You know, and it's also, you know, doing this in public. You know, discuss maybe isn't the greatest idea.
Yeah.
So
I would really suggest that we have Steve part of these negotiations. I know you
Happy to
said
attend.
it wasn't, Eric, but I think that's news to the rest of us.
So perhaps if the commission wants to, you know, say we're just on for discussion item, correct? We're not gonna-
This is just a discussion item.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
it is. Yeah.
So if the commission understands that Commissioner Walker and I can reach out and talk with the auditor's office, I think we need to
Gabe.
figure out, and Gabe, of course.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
There you go.
Big we didn't do that. They froze taxes. Now we want to do that when they already set their list of demands was to come into compliance with all, or else they're gonna hold our taxes.
Well, I mean, they're willing to talk to us. Yeah,
So
they said they'd talk to us.
they're gonna, to Mike's
Reading
point,
the room, it
they're
kind of
gonna,
feels like there's a line in the sand. And so I'm kind of, you know, I think that Mike's bringing up a point that they've put a line in the sand and at some point, you know, if not now, we need to kind of be ready to,
Roll over.
yeah, or to,
Or accept the reality.
or to fight it, defend it.
Nice
and
way to do
can't
it.
draw this out. So I think that in these talks going forward, to Stephen's point of making a case for some of these individual line items that are in the spreadsheet, like, I think we should start making that case, and whether that's Stephen's office or someone else, I don't know. And
In quite a few of these are already like item, finding one. That one's, we're not questioning that at all, right? Is that?
no, but I think in terms of like, when you guys went to the hearing and one of the legislators was
Right.
like, yeah, TikTok videos
Yeah.
promote visitation, you know, and if we're showing beautiful landscapes, that we can make an argument that that's
So-
establishing tourism. And if we need to start preparing those arguments, whether it's to present to an accountant or a judge, you know, I think we should start gathering a case. Hopefully it doesn't come to the courts, but I mean, I'm curious.
And I think you guys have already actually started working on, for example, the Grand Center, right? And proving
yeah,
that
I
that's
think
used for
again,
much more than.
I don't think it helps us reaching an understanding with the auditor's office to discuss all this.
Right.
Public. I think it actually hurts.
Okay, why don't, so
That's why I'm
you
saying-
guys have a meeting tomorrow? Do you want to just email us a review of the meeting when you're finished? That'd be great.
And I also want to say, you know, this started, Auditor Dougal made a statement in the paper saying he's happy to talk. I sent him a text message saying,
Right.
hey, you know, if you're interested in talking, and then it became kind of a more substantive discussion than I was expecting too. But since it's been friendly, productive, you know,
Yeah.
So
And-
I'm just saying, it wasn't,
Yes.
you know, it's not what I thought it was gonna be.
And I definitely appreciate Auditor Dougal's willingness to come to the table too. I think that's,
That was some-
Like I said, I haven't been in those direct conversations and I do think that the friendly track is still the way to
Way to
go.
go, right.
And it's, you know, from the outside, it kind of, it feels slow moving. And so I appreciate folks doing the heavy lifting and I'm all in favor of keeping it cordial and civilized. I just want to be ready for if it's spinning out and we're dipping into piggy bank. Need to do
So,
something else.
so it might be, so here are some things that my impression is, you know, places where we feel like we're right, and want to stand our ground. One of them is the spending on the grant center. You know, they said it's, you know, 99% is senior center, something like that. I think we've got documentation that it's got a lot of other uses that wasn't in the audit report. They showed it up, and so there was a lot of discussion, and they're willing to listen, you know, to additional use. That's one. Another is the spending on our responsible recreation program. You know, can it be promotional in addition to other things? There's discussion about that. There's some technical things about, you know, base year expenditures and stuff like that, just whether the numbers are right. You know, these are just very dry numerical things, but some of these, sometimes it can be surprisingly complicated to figure out how much we spent on various things because we have multiple revenue sources and multiple expenditures. And just, you know, two people can look at the same set of books and come up with different numbers. You know, that's actually what happened. You just have to figure out which one is right. So that one isn't really about interpreting code. It's just about, you know, reading the books correctly. And then I think the flood relief grants is,
I guess the point is, back to Evan, is if ultimately they say, sorry, Kevin, you have to pony up here to get your taxes free, then I think we need to be, at some point, where does this argument stop with the auditor? That's, I guess, what I'm looking for. So if we can get on with flood mitigation, we can get on with housing or preventing housing, or we can get on, but
I guess my feeling is if it's close, then, you know, we can agree to not split the difference, but if it's further apart, then I think it's right. We should look at our options for a TRO or something like that. I mean, if we feel like we have a strong case. So I'm hoping we'll come to that. So, again, I'm optimistic that, you know, the differences is gonna get so narrow that no one's gonna split anything too much. I feel like it's already firmly there. And after some more discussion, I think I'm optimistic we'll get there, but you know, I don't know. I can't read their minds.
It's very optimistic that we get there, but it feels like we're mediating now without the other person in the room. But if they draw a line in the sand, like guys, we're frozen up. They're money.
Let's just
If we-
hope
We're gonna burn through our.
If we announce in public that if they draw a line in the sand, we're gonna cave, then of course they're gonna draw a line in the sand.
That's a good point.
Expecting us to cave. I mean, it's not.
It's not a way to negotiate.
So,
So-
so
Yeah, but what's the point where we don't fight the fight?
let's just
There's
move
gotta be
through
a
this
dollar amount
first.
that says, hey,
Yeah, let's
fight,
just-
don't fight.
I agree, there's $5 amount. Stuff.
probably the
Yeah.
worst place to discuss that.
Okay.
Um,
Alright.
Let's tell them our bottom line. Sure.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into closed session to discuss, purchase, exchange, and release of property and character and
Competency and fitness.
competency and fitness of an individual.
Was there a mud spring item?
No, that was canceled. Yeah,
They weren't ready.
it wasn't ready.
Didn't wanna cut this short.
All right, Mary made a motion to go into closed session. I need a second for that motion. All right, Evan seconds. So motion by Commissioner McGann, second by Commissioner Clapper to go into closed session. All in favor? And that passes unanimously. We'll go back into closed session.
Sitting right because we started at 4, right? So we're actually kind of like right in our